Tyler leaned back on the couch. Well, Tony, what do you think? The sound isn't the same as the CD Bear made. Other than that, it looks great. That can be fixed, Tony. When I realized that the TV folks were going to record the show, I had them give me a feed of their television sync signals. They're recorded along with the audio on my system. I can sync the sound I recorded perfectly to their video. You mean that the sound on the video can be exactly as good as the sound on the CD you made? Of course, Tyler. If they did a DVD release of the whole concert, it could have the same quality sound as the CD release. In fact, most DVD discs include surround sound type audio tracks. I have to talk to the record company folks about this, Bear. A DVD release is a great idea. Can I use your phone? Use the one in the kitchen, Tyler. I want to listen to the rest of the audio CD I made. You can close the door if it gets too loud in there. I reset the sound system to take the CD player as the main input, then hit the start button on the remote to start the second CD I made. We had listened to almost half of it when Tyler came back into the living room. Well, Bear, if Tony gives her official stamp of approval, then there will be a DVD release of the entire concert too. The record company would like you to help engineer the sound for the CD, the on-air video of the show, the MTV clips, and the DVD release. In fact, they said you had a job with them anytime you wanted it, just name your own price. But I already have a job, Tyler. One I'm quite happy with. Oh? And what job is that? Tony was sitting on the edge of the sofa, looking at me. The look of anticipation on her face was priceless. Well, unless Tony says otherwise, I thought I was working for her. How could someone so small move so fast and hug so hard? That's great, Bear. Tyler, do you have something for Bear? Yes, I do, Tony. Bear, this is for you whether or not you decide to work for us. Tyler held out an envelope. I took it and looked inside. I saw a check from Tony's company for almost $1 million. Tony, Tyler, I do thank you, but I really don't need this. Just look around you. I never have to work another day for the rest of my life. My needs are small and my lifestyle rather simple by comparison to most other people. The money I have already will last me well beyond my remaining years. Tony, and I know that, Bear. One thing you haven't learned about me personally yet is that basically, I'm a careful little planner when it comes to Tony's personal finances. I do the best I can to take care of her money and make sure she's getting the most for the dollars her production company has to spend on these tours and her other efforts. What you've done this past week and what you'll be doing in the future is the best investment I can think of. That check covers the work you did on the concerts and a beginning share in the royalties for the CD and the DVD releases and the broadcast rights to the video. You're in them too and are entitled to a share in the profits, the same as Tony, the band, the backup singers, and dancers. I looked over at Tony. She had snuggled down next to me on the couch. She looked up at me and simply shook her head yes. Are you sure, Tony? Look at the check. I took it out of the envelope. It had Tony's signature on it. I don't sign things like that unless I mean it, Bear. I kissed Tony gently on her forehead and gave her a hug, then I shook Tyler's hand. Tony was smiling from ear to ear, then a puzzled expression flashed across her face. Bear, did you really mean what you wrote on the newspaper? I winked back at her. I don't sign things like that unless I mean it, Tony. I put the check on the coffee table, then started the CD playing again. About a week later, Tony's mom, Catherine, visited. I found that she and I hit it off pretty well. The news about Tony's dad was good too. His parole was denied for at least 2 more years based on the early threats he had made while he was in prison to take his revenge on them. The threats he made as they led him away would not go in his favor at the next hearing either. That first week we were together set the tone for the years I spent working for Tony. The days turned into weeks, then into months as Tony and I traveled around the country doing concerts. She had even decided that she didn't want to spend her senior year in her old high school, so she and her mom moved in with me. She attended a local high school just like any normal teenager and enjoyed every minute of it. She graduated with honors. Her mom and I attended her graduation. She decided to wait on college, realizing that the music business is extremely fickle. People like an artist's music one day, then find someone else they like better the next day. She decided to stay with it as long as she remained popular, then go back to college when her record sales started to fade. Fortunately, There seemed to be no end in sight to the sales of her recording and music videos. With her father's impending release pushed back, Tony's nightmares subsided for the most part. She would still crawl in bed with me when we were on the road, and she started to feel lonely at night. Sometimes the mysterious dreams returned, and she woke up screaming, but couldn't remember what the nightmare was about. I eventually got used to the red hair in my face when I woke up. When we were on the road, I had almost come to expect it. I wound up as bodyguard, confidant, and traveling companion, all rolled up in one. We even attended a Grammy Awards ceremony together. Tony won an award for Best Album. She insisted on dragging me up to the stage to accept it with her since I was responsible for mixing and producing it. She won several more awards for her work too. She had a special place for the awards on a shelf above the seldom-used fireplace in my living room. Since Tony felt more at home living in upstate New York, she decided to stay with me. Her mom decided to split her time between their old home in Chicago and my home since her mother still worked as a vice president of a small women's clothing store chain. The tabloids got hold of things and wouldn't really let go. There were all kinds of rumors about Tony and I having intimate relations. We knew they weren't true, and that's all that mattered to us. Tony did manage to go out on some dates with some of her rock star friends. The tabloids and fan magazines went off the deep end every time it happened. Tony has several scrapbooks full of the stuff and loves to take them out and laugh at some of the crazy things they've said. The traveling life of a rock star doesn't lend itself to long-term relationships. Whenever you're in one place, your date winds up in another place, hundreds or more likely thousands of miles away. I could tell that Tony wanted to settle down in one place and stop her life on the road for a while, but the pressures of new album releases and promotional tours continued unchecked. I saw the weariness in her eyes and forced Tyler to stop scheduling Tony's appearances for several months. During that time, Tony did very little work publicly, although she was very busy writing songs and recording in the basement studio. She even practiced her piano skills. She learned to play at a very young age, but never stayed with it. One of the recordings she made was a sweeping instrumental inspired by one particularly beautiful central New York sunset. It turned out to be a hit for her as well. 2 years after I accepted Tony's offer of a job, we wound up back in Chicago again, almost to the exact day that I had first mixed the sound for her concerts. The Chicago shows had been a success again, and we were getting ready to leave on the bus for the next stop on the tour. Tony, come on. Andrea is waiting for us. We've got to fight our way through the crowd out there again. Move it. Coming, bear. I just wanted to get out of that last costume. Sparkles and fringe aren't very comfortable to travel in, and they need to clean it anyway. I looked at Tony standing in the doorway. The sometimes awkward 17-year-old had grown up into a beautiful 19-year-old woman. Her figure was quite stunning and was the envy of almost every teenager, male and female, that ever saw her. And it was all natural too. Her spirit had grown considerably as well. She matured from an insecure girl into a woman sure of her future. Ready, bear. Let's get going. I fell in behind Tony as 2 security guards joined us. As we left the arena by a side exit, the crowd rushed toward us. As we walked into the crowd, I heard a woman scream, then 2 gunshots. I saw a spurt of red erupt on the side of Tony's neck. One of the 2 security people was down while the other was already tending to Tony as she lay unconscious on the ground. I looked up to see a man a few feet away in the crowd holding a gun. He was aiming to take another shot at Tony. I rushed forward toward the man. He raised the gun directly at me and fired. I felt a hot burning sensation in my chest, then I started to crumple toward the ground. My weight, with my forward speed, sent me crashing into the man, knocking him to the ground. I heard another shot as the pain erupting in my stomach caused my vision to go white and my other senses to go into overload. Then the world faded to black. The air was filled with the sounds of screaming and sirens as I woke up. I blinked, trying to clear a milky white haze from my eyes. A face resolved from the blur. A man in a uniform was looking at me. I heard him say, "You're hurt. Stay here." Then he was gone. I nodded slightly. Strands of red hair fell down, blocking the scene before me. I lifted a trembling hand to brush the hair away, only to see long, well-manicured hot pink-colored fingernails on slim fingers of a small hand. I brushed the hair out of the way, brushing something else as I did. I was able to look down enough to see two large mounds of flesh. I moved the hand down to one of them and squeezed. Not only did I feel the mound with that hand, but I also felt that hand squeezing the mound from the mound itself. A sharp throbbing pain invaded my thoughts, and I moved the hand to where the throbbing was. I felt a mass of gauze bandages and something gooey. I pulled back the hand and looked to see a bright red substance covering it. I remember thinking two words as I passed out. Oh no. I don't know how long I was in the darkness. There was no reference to time, distance, sound, or anything else, just an all-encompassing blackness that surrounded me. I couldn't see, hear, or feel anything. I saw a small point of light after what felt like an eternity. It seemed to be way off in the distance. I concentrated on the speck of light as it slowly grew in size until I was looking at the inside of a hospital room. I blinked several times as the haze cleared again. A woman's face floated into view. It was the face of Catherine, Tony's mom. Welcome back. You gave us such a terrible scare, honey. Can you hear me and understand me? Yes. I thought I recognized the voice and I knew it wasn't mine. I decided to stay quiet. That's great, sweetie. Do you think you can handle me telling you what happened? I nodded yes. Good. Well, the doctors think you'll recover just fine. You lost a lot of blood from the wound, but you should make a full recovery. You may have some memory problems, but the doctors say you'll fully recover. Isn't that great? I nodded yes again. Can you take some bad news, sweetie? Another nod yes. There's no other way to tell you this, honey. The tears started streaming down her face. That man was going to shoot you again. Bear took the bullet intended for you, then he was hit a second time as he fell. He died within a few seconds. There was nothing the medical crews could do when they got there. I'm so sorry that he didn't make it, sweetie. I started screaming. No, IT can't be, IT just can't be. That's not possible. The machines I was connected to were going absolutely crazy, making all kinds of alarm noises. I saw a doctor inject something into the forelead going into my arm while a nurse held me down on the bed. In a few seconds, the room faded to black again. I don't know how long I was in the blackness. Once again, I saw a tiny point of light and willed myself toward it with every shred of energy I could find. As the point of light grew larger, a second smaller point of light started to glow next to it. As I got closer, I realized the second point of light was Tony floating before me in the blackness. She wore a long flowing dress that extended out behind her. We don't have much time, Bear. It wasn't supposed to happen like it did. You weren't the one I was. You've been given another chance. It was the best they could do. She reached out, and I felt a wave of warmth pass through me. There. I've given you a little gift to help you. Things may feel very strange for a while, but you'll get used to it. Be sure to read my diary. That's as much as I can do. I'll be waiting for you when your time does come. Always remember I love you. She kissed me, then faded from sight. The remaining point of light grew until I was looking at the inside of the hospital room again. I had expected to find Katie there, but I was all by myself in the room. I was propped up in bed on a couple of pillows. Red hair blocked my vision again. I blinked several times to try to knock the hair away. Not having any luck by blinking, I tried moving my arms. Both hands came into view. I saw the same long, delicate fingers tipped with bright pink inch-long fingernails on small hands that I had seen before. The nail polish was chipped in spots. The thought that I should do something about the deplorable state of those fingernails was quite a shock. I tried to figure out where the thought came from. Even more long red hair tumbled down to block my vision as I shook my head, trying to clear my thoughts. I tried flexing the fingers and found that I was able to make a fist or straighten out the fingers. I brushed the hair out of the way. As I moved the strange arm, it brushed against something large and soft on my chest. I moved my head up off the pillow, looking down to see two very feminine breasts glued to my chest. The breasts hurt as I very crudely tried to grab them and pull them off, hoping that somebody had played a very cruel joke. They hurt quite a lot as I pulled, so I stopped trying. I forced the unfamiliar hand under the sheet and hospital gown to feel where the breasts were glued on. I found no seams anywhere or areas where the feelings flooding my brain changed as my fingers explored them. When the hand brushed a nipple, a small shock wave of pleasure echoed through me, head to toes. In an act of disbelief, I tried it again and got the same wave of pleasure. Both nipples became hard and stood up, proving to my confused mind that, beyond any doubt, these breasts were very real. I slid what I now accepted as my hand further down, searching for something between my legs that I knew should be there. I didn't find what I expected. What I did find was a vertical slit with a small opening in it and a very sensitive area just above it. My hand brushed over the sensitive area, giving me a very strange and wonderful feeling throughout my whole body, an incredible wave of pleasure echoing like ripples in water bouncing against the side of a pool. The nipples rubbing against the rough hospital gown only intensified the effect. I withdrew my hand and started looking for a mirror in a state of mind approaching shock. I searched until my fingers came across a cord on the bed leading to a small box with a button on it. The label said nurse, so I pushed it. A few minutes later, a woman in a starched white uniform entered the room. "Oh, so you're awake. That wasn't supposed to happen for another few hours. I'll get you another sedative." "No sedatives, I'm going to stay awake." "But the doctors said that." "I don't care what the doctor said. I said and no more sedatives. Is there a mirror around?" She opened the drawer on the table next to the bed and took out a small, highly polished metal plate with rolled edges. I guess that passed for a mirror in the sterile hospital environment, and it wouldn't break if dropped either. She placed it on top of the table. "Is there anything else you need?" No, thanks." She quietly left the room. I raised the mirror in my shaking hands as I closed my eyes. When I opened them, my suspicions were confirmed. The face that looked back at me in the mirror was not my own, but the face of Tony Baker. I moved my hand up to brush away the rest of the hair covering that face. The simple act of seeing the image and controlling its actions made me realize what had happened. Now I understood what Tony had just told me. I was taken before my time, and the powers that controlled the universe saw fit to give me another chance at living in her body. It had been Tony's time to leave this existence, not mine. Tears started to flow as I dropped the mirror back to the bed and buried my face in the pillow. I cried a long time for the loss of my sweet, wonderful Tony. While her body was alive and recovering, that incredible spirit of hers was gone forever from this world. The sobs slowly stopped, then I got several tissues and started to wipe my eyes. As I wiped away the tears, I thought that it was very strange that I had cried like that. My emotions were normally buried very deep and tightly controlled. Now they seemed to be a larger part of my personality, always just below the surface and ready to erupt without warning. After a little while, I felt a strange yet somehow familiar full feeling down below and pressed the nurse call button again. The same nurse entered the room. "Your doctor asked to be notified when you woke up. He'll be here shortly. Is there something else you need?" "Thank you, I do want to talk to him. Now I think I need to go to the bathroom." "A bathroom trip?" She looked at a chart on the wall by the door. "You have to use the bedpan. The chart says that the doctor doesn't want you up yet." "No way. No bedpans. I'll go by myself." I peeled back the covers on the bed, then struggled to drop my legs over the side of the bed and saw that they were still several inches above the floor. I also saw how small my feet were now. "Here's the bedpan." She placed it beside me on the bed. I looked at the plastic pan and shuddered. "Would you care to provide me with a live demonstration on how to use that instrument of torture?" She frowned at me and placed the bedpan on the floor. "I thought so. Now please help me to the bathroom unless you want me to fall flat on my face. That would look real good on the evening news." Nurse stands by while patient injures herself trying to reach the bathroom. "You'll have to wait a moment." She turned on her heels and disappeared out the door. She came back moments later pushing a wheelchair. "I don't think I'll need that." I stood up, feeling that the world had all of a sudden grown taller around me. I realized that I was now over a foot shorter than I was before. I wobbled a little on my small feet but remained standing. She pushed the chair into a corner and brought a walker over to me that I gratefully accepted to help my balance since it felt wrong somehow. I made it into the bathroom just fine and got comfortable on the toilet. Seeing that I was all right, the nurse turned back toward the bed. "I'll go change your bedding now." She closed the bathroom door behind her. I looked in the large mirror over the sink across from me as I relieved myself. The image that looked back wasn't very appealing. Tony's long red hair was all matted and scraggly from her, well, my head being on the pillow. A large bandage was wrapped around her, my neck just above her, my shoulders with a bulge on the right side. The hospital gown hung loosely, exposing parts of my chest and backside.